Enough of that. I appreciate the beginning there was a bit dramatic, but I need you to stop. These 5 beginner common gardening mistakes that can literally kill your Japanese acers.
No!
Have all of the leaves on your acer plant gone crinkly and horrible?
Yes!
Has your plant become stunted, putting out very little growth and has not done anything really for the past few years?
Yes!
Do you have massive sections of dieback on your plant? You're thinking, what the flip has happened here and what can I do about it? Well, I have the answers for you. Answers to questions that should have come up when you purchase your plant at your garden centre, but they don't tell you anything. And they don't tell you anything on Gardener's World either.
Oh!
What's the point of that program if they don't give out any information? That's just my opinion. So I'm going to talk to you about overwatering, underwatering, wind scorch, sun scorch. I'm even going to tell you a few detailed bits of information that people don't mention. And lastly, I'm going to talk to you about fungal infections. Oh my God, these fungal infections are the absolute bane of all of your acers. And if you can't get control of these, your acers are going to...
Oh!
That wasn't too dramatic, was it? First mistake, crinkly, brown, dried up leaves. So common is this issue, you can be forgiven for thinking that's just what acers look like. Well, no, that's not what they're supposed to look like. And there are 2 reasons as to why this is a problem. I'm mostly going to talk about the first reason now, and that is to do with sun scorch because you put it in the wrong place. But also, I'm going to give you a list of acers that you can place in full sun.
Hooray!
Yeah, and a list of acers you should never put into full sun. And that way, you can check the labels that you've got to make sure you put the right plant in the right place. The natural habitats of your Japanese acer are the woodlands of Japan. And as such, they are protected by the high canopy of trees from direct sun from the hottest part of the day, fly. So, as a general rule of thumb, there are of course exceptions. When you're considering where you are going to plant your Japanese acer, place it somewhere where it is protected from the hottest part of the day so that it is in at least dappled shade throughout the most of the afternoon. So you're talking somewhere between about 11 o'clock to about 3 o'clock, dappled shade, and then morning sun's fine, late afternoon, early evening sun, absolutely fine. Typically, all of your fine-leaved, dissected varieties you can't put out in full sun. Also goes for red-leaved forms, also those fine, white variegated forms. Now, don't be mistaken for thinking that all scorch is the same. You're not going to get instant scorch. It's going to build up over the summer to its hottest point, and you're going to start to see these slowly shriveling off at the ends. That is your classic sun scorch. So these are a list of the plants that you cannot, and these are common plants, common cultivars of acers that you can't place in full sun. And then I'm going to tell you which ones you can do. The first cultivar on the list that you must not keep out in full sun is the Acer Palmatum Uki-gumo, otherwise known as the floating cloud Acer. And this one absolutely cannot stand to be kept in any kind of sun whatsoever. It's almost like it's a vampire Acer where the moment sunlight hits it, it starts to frazzle up with some kind of ash and steam coming off it. It is horrible. Please don't do it. Acer Katsura is another one that scorches really easily. If you can harden off mature foliage to morning sun, late afternoon sun, you can, but as soon as that flush of new growth comes out, that is extremely at risk from damage from the sun. So again, keep it out of full sun. It's going to be the same story for Benny Mako. It's going to be the same story for Butterfly, also Orange Dream, and pretty much any of your fine dissected Acer leaf plants. So all of those, if you've got them, check the label. If you've got them in full sun, no, you're going to have to lift them and move them come the autumn. Naughty. Now, if in your garden you only have full sun, no shade whatsoever, then I've got a few suggestions of Acers that you can put out in full sun. The first one is the wonderful Acer Red Emperor, an absolutely stunning form, very robust. You also have the Ozaki-zuki, again a fantastic plant, no problems at all. The Sango-kaku, otherwise known as the coral bark maple. You've also got the Atropurpureum, which is generally quite easy to find, and there's one that is difficult to pronounce, and that is Seriu. So if you can find them and you can plant them, you too can have Acers that will tolerate full sun, no scorch whatsoever. Well, hopefully, and if it does start to suffer with the leaves, it's not going to be Sunscorch, it's going to be fungal infections, which we're going to talk about at the end of this little group of plants. The next common mistake that people make with their fancy Japanese Acers is to place them somewhere where they are exposed to windy conditions, because some of these fine fragile leaves will easily dry out when exposed to strong winds, and there are a number of plants that I would recommend not placing in your garden if all you have are windy conditions. Coming up first are going to be those lovely dissected varieties, which I really like, extremely popular. Everybody wants to buy them, and you can pick them up for just a couple of pounds in your local supermarket. Well, these are obviously going to dry up very easily because the leaves are so delicate. So if that's what you want, but you have an exposed garden with a lot of wind, don't bother planting them. They may be fine for a few weeks, even a few months, but over the period or a course of a year, these strong winds will damage the plants. They may look okay if you stand a few feet away from them, but take a closer look. No, it's going to look shocking, so don't plant them. In addition, and once again, don't plant Acer Uki-gumo. Don't plant Acer Katsura. And it's the same for Orange Dream, Little Princess, Benny Mako, and Butterfly. Many of these plants are the same plants that can't tolerate the sun, so these are known to be delicate cultivars. So if you've got windy conditions, if you've got sunny conditions, keep away from these ones. Big killer mistake number 3 is to do with your soil conditions, and the big problem really is overwatering or planting your Acers in a poorly drained soil. The roots really can't take it very well. If you are potting them up into pots, make sure you provide yourself with a free draining compost. You might need to add some additional grit, perlite or vermiculite to improve the drainage. And if you're buying fresh compost, consider using an ericaceous compost, because Acers, although they will take a pH of neutral, slightly alkaline, they will perform better in a pH that is slightly acidic. So an ericaceous compost is going to be spot on. While your Acers will like to be kept in a regularly moist soil, they do need to be free draining to have plenty of air pockets within the soil in order for the fibrous roots of your root system to perform at their best. If they become submerged or consistently wet, these roots can die, and it will open these up to soil-borne fungal infections like Pythium, like Phytophthora, like Verticillium wilt. I'm not going to go any further into that at this point, but I have already made a video about the fungal problems of Acers. That there is the thumbnail. You can't click on that, but at the end of this video, I will be putting on a clickable thumbnail. You click on that, that takes you straight to my video that talks to you in depth all about the fungal infections that Japanese Acers can suffer from, and most cases just die from.
No!
Mistake number 4 is about planting your Acer root ball too deep. If you look at mature Acer, you have something called a root flare, and that's at the base of the trunk, and you'll see that you'll get larger roots coming off at the bottom and coming out, and that root flare needs to be kept above ground. So when you're planting your Acer plant, it's recommended to have the soil level in your pot slightly higher than the soil level of your surrounding area. Now, you've not heard that before, had you?
No!
So this root flare is quite delicate, does not want to be covered with soil, does not like to be kept permanently moist, can cause problems with your plant. And while I'm talking about this, if you put down mulches on your plants, I've always recommended that when you do place a mulch around the base where the root systems are, always pull apart or pull away from the trunk. You don't want any of your mulch touching the trunk or the root flare in the case of Acers, because it can thin the bark and increase the risk of fungal infections. And it's a particular problem with Japanese Acers. So if you are one of these guys who ordinarily mulching these plants, are absolutely brilliant idea, I recommend it, but for Acers you can do it, but you must make sure that you've got adequate space between the ring of mulch and your trunk. It's very important. You can cause some big problems with your Acers. The 5th mistake, like I say, I'm going to be talking about fungal infections afterwards, so you could call it a 6th mistake. And to be fair, if there are anything that I haven't discussed in this video regarding problems with Acers, and you're thinking, well, why is he spoken about that? Well, don't worry, put that into the comments. We generally love to hear from you. It gets that information out there to the other viewers, because a lot of people will go and read the comments. I do it myself. Back to the 5th mistake, back in my comfy chair. 5th mistake is to do with pruning your Acers. Before I even start, whenever you are pruning your Acer plants, there is a risk of fungal infections inherent with these, because many of the suppliers that produce these in Europe already have infections in them. So it's a very nasty thing, and this is why I did make that second video, which will be at the end. So whenever you are pruning into Acers, always make sure that your secateurs are properly sharpened. Make sure they're properly sterilized. You can sterilize them either with some rubbing alcohol, wipe that on, let that sit for a bit, and wash it off with some water, and then you can cut into your Acer plant. Now, the best time to do any cuts, remedial cuts to your Acers, is going to be end of the winter to early spring. So it's at a very, very cold period, and we do it then because Acers are known to be heavy bleeders of sap, and we're trying to cut it when they're not bleeding sap all over the place, because it can severely weaken the plant, affect next year's display, and increases the risk of fungal infections getting into these open wounds. So that's why we don't do it. You can do some light pruning in the summer, at the heat of the summer, because plants do tend to go a wee bit dormant at that time period. And I know a lot of bonsai growers who use Acers for their work, they will tend to do summer cuts. But for your typical large garden Acers, any large remedial cuts, always do in the winter. To be fair, I don't really recommend pruning branches out of Acers simply because it can destroy the ornamental framework of the Acer branches, which I really like. So if you have to make a cut, always cut to a full. I know some people out there, they will buy an Acer, and this is true, and then they'll start cutting it into a kind of a mushroom shape because they've seen these mushroom shapes and thinks, well, that's what I want. But the thing is, those Acer cultivars with the mushroom shape, that is their natural shape. You don't need to do anything. It will just make it. It looks lovely. You can't take an upright one and start pruning it because you'll be pruning that every single year and it will constantly be trying to grow away from that ridiculous shape you're trying to keep it in. Don't do that. Very annoying. But I know some of you out there say it's brilliant. Well, you're entitled to your opinion, as am I. My opinion is almost always correct. I want to touch on Verticillium wilt with your Acers because this, quite a nasty fungal infection, is often what is misdiagnosed as being either Sunscorch or wind scorch. So if you've picked up a plant, all the leaves start to go brown and crispy, you take it back to the garden centre, first thing they're going to say is, yeah, I think you put it in too much sun, or yeah, I think you got it in a windy position, and they're not going to give you your money back. But if you know what to look for and are aware of it, Verticillium wilt is a massive problem with commercially grown Acers, and it's a massive problem in this country, in the UK. You need to be able to recognise that from the other problems. Verticillium wilt is a soil-borne fungal infection that enters the roots of your plant, and once it's inside, it starts to block up the vascular system, which is the water transporting part of your stems and trunks, and because the water can't get through, sections of your leaves will start to dry up. You do characteristic mosaic brown patches on your leaves, or streaks of brown leaves, or just severe tip dieback on your leaves. It happens very quickly compared to sun and wind scorch, and once you've got your eye in, it's very easy to see. The problem is it's transferred either through the soil or by infected cutting tools, and with many of your fancy Acer varieties being grafted, this infection is constantly being transferred from plant to plant to plant. Now, when you buy it from your nursery, you might think, oh, that plant looks fine. Well, there's a reason for that. There are some very good quality fungicides that stop the fungus from spreading through the plant. It won't kill it off, but it will hold it back. So the plants look absolutely fantastic when they turn up at the garden centre or whatever store you buy it from. However, when you buy it, take it home, you are not applying the fungicide to that plant, and that disease will start to spread and start to show itself really within a few weeks. Now, the downside of this is that there are no fungicides that you can buy as a regular gardener from your local garden centre that's going to touch that. So if you've got it, it's going to kill the plant over time. First of all, you get the little bit of the mottling on the leaves, then you get small stems dying back, and then large branches dying back, and all you can really do is just try and cut out these sections of infection. But they're not going to stop the spread. Over time, the plant will die. That's all I'm going to say about that, because it's all in this video here. Thanks for watching. That will tell you all about it. See you in the next video. Goodbye.